Hello, everyone, and welcome once again. Let me set my microphone down to our daily microphone working, Limbus audio on. There we go. Welcome again, everybody, to our daily Limbus Company ID study and Mirror Dungeon, as well as book reading. Can't forget that. Today is a episode where I have taken a team recommended by you, the viewers. If you got a team that you want to recommend me to use during the streams, please check the description below here on YouTube for a Google Forms that is anonymous where you can recommend a team for me to use. Today's team was recommended by, again, someone anonymous. They asked for the middle, but instead of having Heathcliff Ricardo, we are going to be using Ufi Heathcliff for the application of Tremor Decay. Because apparently Tremor Decay will lose the enemy defense level and make more damage. Now, in the suggestion, it was as saying that because the enemy will have a lower defense level, we would gain more kill power by using our counters. That is not exactly true, unfortunately, because counters use offense level instead of defense level. And if you were in for our discussion the day after, the day previous, I think? I don't remember now. I think it was yesterday. Kind of forgetting now. We saw some ins and outs of offense level and defense level. When someone is defending themselves with an evade or with a block, they will use their defense level compared to the enemy offense level to gain additional final power or to reduce the damage they take. But that simply is not the case with counters, as counters use offense level, so this thing here wouldn't work, but we're going to use it anyway. I already made the thumbnail for it, after all, made the announcement as Tremor Decay combo, so we're going to be using the Tremor Decay combo. So, before we progress, let's take a quick look at our sinners and remind ourselves of their gimmicks, shall we? Starting off with Ufi Heathcliff. Ufi Heathcliff doesn't really have much of a gimmick. He is a Tremor Decay unit. It's very simple. He applies Tremor, and if the enemy has lots of Tremor, he gains his escalation of power on his skills. When he converts the Tremor into Tremor Decay, he will, trigger Tremor Burst, additional Tremor Burst, and he deals additional damage based on Tremor on enemy with a cap of 30%. That means it's 18 Tremor on the enemy, he deals 30% more damage. He's a very capable ID. He deals good damage, nothing super astronomical because he's a standard fare unit. You can get him at any point in the game. It's not as nearly a season ID. You can just get him. Ooh, let me scratch my back real quick. Ooh, yeah, that's the stuff. So he hasn't much of a gimmick. He gains coin power for Tremor on target, and coin power for Tremor on target. Following our age-old classic here of an 11 roller, not a 6, I think it's a 16 roller here, and then whatever with the final hit. Funnily enough, his final hit is Pierce. I don't like that. I prefer it was Pierce Slash, but what can you do? And if the enemy has lots of Tremor, we convert that Tremor into Tremor Decay. And as we have seen before, Tremor Decay will make the enemy lose defense level, which makes them basically more vulnerable to damage. Now, the middle does not have Tremor. The only unit capable of inflicting Tremor is Ricardo Heathcliff. I am fairly sure. I am not sure. Maybe OTS here has something regarding to Tremor, but I am not recalling it. I think she's just pure burn bleed with some application of stuff. So that is the gimmick for Ufi Heathcliff. Not much of a gimmick, really. Just pump the enemy full of Tremor and then jiggle them bows. The other two units with an actual gimmick here, the other three units are the middle Little Big Brother, the House of Spiders Apprentice, and the House of Spiders Nurse Father Matthias, Ophias, Ishmael, and Sinclair. Ishmael has a very simple one. When she gets hit, or when an ally gets hit, she gains grudges. Right here, the middle grudges. Once you use her skill tree, whatever you're using it as a counter or not, she converts grudges into tattoos. She can do that 10 times, but only 2 times per turn. So if you have 10 grudges and you activate your skill tree, it gains 2 tattoos, and you can't do it anymore on that turn. So you gotta, there's a little fidangling with when you decide to turn it, convert it or not, because when you use your skill tree, you're going to be converting all of the grudges on self. You're gonna consuming everything. So it's stacked up to 15, but you can only gain 2 tattoos per turn. So anything above 10 is a waste, Anything below 10 is also kind of a waste because you're consuming all. So you want to hit that perfect spot of having 10 and then using your skill tree. Her skill tree can be used at any moment if you have a MV resonance of 6+, MV absolute resonance, mind you. So it has to be a full chain of 6 purples. And that's about her gimmick. And when she has Thermal Blades active, which activates when she gets a resonance, I believe. Hold on. Come on, start. Didn't have Thermal Blades. Yeah, at 3 MV resonance against Thermal Blades, she just becomes the Burn Bleed ID, which is again very nice. Moving on to the other gimmick character, here is the middle little brother Sinclair. This one is also very similar to Ishmael, but with a few key differences. Here's how it works. Whenever an enemy hits and deals damage to one of our units, right here, he gets marked by Vendetta Mark, which is 5. And also when he gets hit as well, he inflicts 5 Vendetta Mark on enemies. Vendetta Marks makes the enemy take more damage based on the stack, but when Sinclair hits the enemy, he converts all the Vendetta Mark into Book of Vengeance Sinclair. Book of Vengeance Sinclair gives him a myriad of bonuses, but it's stacked up to 30, and once you're at 30, you no longer gain any more bonuses. But again, this is automatic. Enemy hits ally, you hit enemy that is marked, he takes more damage, you gain bonuses, rinse and repeat until you got 30, and you're powered up and ready to go. Pretty much guaranteed if you are going to use a counter on him, because you are gonna get hit, the enemy gets marked, you punch the enemy back, and you consume the charges. Pretty simple. And it specifically says that he uses with base attacks and counter skills. So that is all the gimmick for this unit. It's very simple, similar to Ishmael, but with a key difference that you have to hit the enemy. Finally, we have Ophias. Oh yeah, she's here. Her gimmick is also very simple. When she uses her skill tree or when she does a 6 envy resonance, her Rising Fever stack here will go down. And once Rising Fever is at 0, she will unpack her sword. Unpacking her sword turns her into a Bleed Burn unit. Once she unpacks all the sword, which is 3 seals, start with seal, first seal, second seal, we go into Levitate mode, which changes her skills and she applies burn to everyone. Pretty much like everyone else in the middle, she benefits a lot from having a big envy resonance. Whenever you use your skill tree or you do a 6 envy resonance, you unsheath the sword, which is very nice, your skill tree being Stamp of Vengeance. And again, much like the middle, if you have a high enough amount of envy resonance, you gain a skill tree for free. It's very simple, it's very tranquil to use, just more middle shenanigans. You just get hit and hit harder. This thing will mostly focus on Heathcliff being able to inflict decay so that we can do more damage. It is, again, not going to work as expected, unfortunately, but it's still very nice. The middle is very nice. I have updated the rules of the dungeon, so it means we can only take 5 goobers this time around. It's gonna probably be these 5 here, in Limbus on the back. But let's build a team. Let me just get a sip of my coffee. That's some good coffee, hell yeah. Right, first we gotta focus on Tremor. Unfortunately, I do believe this here is self-Tremor. One defense level down, yes. But this only affects the ally with the lowest max HP, and unfortunately, we are running not a solo team, so this isn't gonna affect Heathcliff at all, I am fairly sure. And this again is depending on how much HP we have at the moment. Most of these units have pretty high HP. Yes, they have pretty damn good high HP, and Heathcliff does happen to be the one with the lowest, so let's go with that. We're gonna leave a base house for the offense level down debuffs at random. For Ryochu, we are going to be taking, let's see, we could take Lobotomy Eye, Red Eye Penitence for base healing. We don't have Ethan providing a sanity heal or, you know, Myrtle, but Myrtle is giving us his passive support for 10 SP, so mostly for the bit of healing here. We could probably get something better. There's only on a resonance, right? Only enough Lust Resonance. And only for the ally with the earliest deployment order. Yeah, ain't gonna work, ain't gonna work. Tremor. This is self-tremor, correct? That is self-tremor. Yeah, I think we're gonna take lobotomy, red eyes, really. The best one so far. Honglu, we already know what it is. We bring in with the Think Tank gang leader. Although District 20 Eurodiv would be interesting, but only if you wanted to deploy more Tremor. And since we are not doing Tremor Reverb or Tremor Hemorrhage or Tremor Scorch, this is kind of worthless right now, so let's go with just extra damage, which is always nice. Rodion stays as it is, and Gregor gets it healing. As usual, he doesn't have much that good support that would justify not using the healing on Clash Win. And since we are following rules of the dungeon, we are going to need that healing. What's the smell? Smells like someone spilled mint or somewhere. Let me just get some rewards here since I'm still working on these. There we go. Get my tickets. Did I complete the blue tickets? I completed the blue tickets. Now we're gonna get the boxes. Boxes! Get the boxes out. And let's deploy to the mirror dungeon. Not much to say here. Again, this thing isn't gonna work like we expected, but extra damage is always nice, and we're gonna go for it. Alright. Daily reminder. Rules of the dungeon now updated. We will not take any Grace of the Stars. We will not use Starlight at all. We will not reroll any dungeon packs. Whatever is given to us, we're gonna have to accept it. We are not picking a starting eagle gift. We are not searching for gifts, but that would entail using Starlight. We're not healing on shops. We're not reviving on shops. We have a maximum of 5 sinners per team deployed. If sinners permanently die, that means we can't revive them. If they die and they get revived when we go into the next floor, we ignore that and pretend he is still dead. If this is a solo run, we could try a fight up to 3 times, but since it isn't, it's game over if everyone dies. So that is the rules that we are going to be operating here. We're only going up to room 5 of the mirror dungeon. Again, this is daily. Once we do weeklies, we're going to do extreme floors because it's more interesting. And I really have the Starlight for it now, so, you know. So let's get down there and let's get it rocking. Friday is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what we got here and how the dungeon will treat us. We have Prejudice for healing here. We have some critical, which is nice. Tremor. Offense level down with thinking. Healing on stagger. Healing on stagger is way more powerful, honestly. And since we are not a pride-focused team, I think this one's just better compared to the other choices. So we're gonna go Flat Rope Gamblers. Let's get down to the first fight because we don't have the sanity to attempt these, and I don't like luck. Our deployment order is going to be Heathcliff, followed by Otius, the Apprentice, Sinclair, and Dawn. That is our 5 combatants. That's all we're gonna use. If they die, they stay dead. If they die, they stay dead forever. Alright, here we go. Counter slop right off the bat. There we go. We got a little. Someone got to hit us. They can hit us. Let them hit us. Come on, hit us. Now, one thing we want to try and focus is there's only one Tremor applicator in the thing, is the fact that we're going to need Eagle Gift to spread the Tremor around so that he can spam his skill tree. That's another thing we're going to have to replace, is his skill tree to... Well, all his skills to skill tree so he can spam the Tremor Decay conversion. We could have taken Hanafuda Ishmael as another Tremor applicator, which honestly should have been a choice, but I prefer to use the middle for damage here. And the recommendation that someone made specifically called for OP Heathcliff and the middle, so I took the Heathcliff and the middle. Serious, what is that smell? Did you guys do something evil here? Oh. Right, continue on. Anyway, we need Tremor Gifts to be able to spread the Tremor around, because otherwise we won't have enough to apply the combo. It's going to require a little more tactical use of OP Heathcliff against bosses, so that we can, you know, get the most out of the Tremor Decay. But other than that, that is pretty much it. And goddammit, it's hot in my room. I'm gonna pop open a window. Just a second. Just a second. Just a second. Tactical cooling activated. And hello, I'm back. Hello Isaac, and hello old pet meme. How are y'all doing? Let's win rate this guy. Brings the tower to start and makes every attack afflict tremor. There's an opening in your middle team. Yes, there is old pet meme. It was a viewer recommendation. Someone asked for me to use the middle with Ufi Heathcliff so that we can make a combo with Tremor Decay. Unfortunately, the combo with Tremor Decay isn't going to work, but since this was a request, we're gonna use it anyway. As we have seen, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier today, but as we have seen, Tremor Decay reduces the enemy defense level. When you attack someone with a low defense level, you deal more damage. But when someone tries to protect themselves with a defense skill that isn't counter, they are going to use their defense level to gain final power based on the difference of defense level versus offense level, because it's not a clash, and reduce more damage. This would theoretically work if counters actually use defense level. They use offense level. So the idea here would be that we're going to be using our counter, and the enemy would have a low defense level, and it would gain final power on our counter. But unfortunately, that is simply not how it works, because counters use offense levels. But it was requested for me, and here it is. We are going to use it. I am nothing if not accommodating to my viewers' requests. So once again, if you have a team or a specific combo we would like me to look over and use on our daily mirror dungeon, please check the description below on YouTube here to see the link for the submission for recommendation. And once again, we are following the rules of the dungeon here, so, you know, it's a little bit more challenging this way. I could make this combo work really, really well if I could choose the, what's it called, the gift and all that, but unfortunately we do not. Kind of the purple faction does not have the purple tremor. Yes, it is kind of odd, isn't it? Ah, shit, you know what I haven't done? I should have done, bought the facade for Heathcliff and use it here. Maybe it's not too late for me to do that. Maybe I can get the facade for Ricardo Heathcliff and use it here to the guys. But yeah, no, only one of the units in the middle can actually apply Tremor. So that's another thing that's gonna hold back the combo a little bit, is that no one applies Tremor but Ufi Heathcliff. That's why we're gonna need gifts for that. I forgot to talk like that. For one fleeting moment, I forgot to talk like that. And Ufi Heathcliff is gonna break her envy chain every time because he does not have an envy block. Very nice. So how is everyone doing on this fine Friday? Once again, we've reached the end of the week. Work week is over, the weekend is right around the corner. Tomorrow there is going to be tabletop here in the afternoon for the Project Moon tabletop that I GM for. The enemies, my friends are going to fight a tier 3 Picatula, and it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time. I can already tell you that much. Step of Engine. It's so odd to see the Step of Engine does so little damage. I'm thinking about doing the Mirror Dungeon Extreme coming up with the needle with all the gifts right away, because that was gonna be fun to see how powerful they get. That's the way, kiddo. That's the way. That's the way, kiddo. Turtle Bleed makes more sense than Burn Bleed for Ricardo AD, kinda. I mean, you gotta consider that at some point you're gonna be punching with so much strength and so much speed that naturally you're gonna cause some bleeding, and naturally your fist is gonna be on fire. though. What's cooler than Fists of Fire? Just whoosh. Just whoosh someone's face off. You punch, you dislocate their jaw, you remove their jaw, and you set it on fire. Good coffee, good coffee. I do apologize, these last few days we're gonna be meandering through our daily mirror dungeons. I have promised a lot of things in this channel. I promised other games, I have promised videos and all that, and they are coming with time. But these last 2 days I am meandering through the mirror dungeons here, doing our dailies, reading our book, because I want to get this, I wouldn't say a milestone, but this out of the way. I want to read the entirety of Crime and Punishment here on stream, and I want to do at least 100 daily mirror dungeons to say I did 100 days of daily mirror dungeon, you know? And then we're gonna change gears. We're gonna do weeklies extreme instead of dailies, and we're gonna play other games like Lobcorp and interesting. Lobcorp and Library Runa. But the fire would stop the bleed. Incorrect, unless the bleeding is like a cut that you're gonna cauterize. I'm talking about internal bleeding. You punch someone in the gut, they're gonna be bleeding on the inside and on fire on the outside. Ah, there we go. Clash lose. Boink. Alright, you got 7 vendetta marks on you. Punch! This is one that there's if they ever get upties 5 for other units, like we talked a lot about, one of the animation tweaks I want them to do is change that final hit from Dawn to push the enemy back a fair bit, because that would be good, you know? Go ahead, hit me, you fool! A stagger. Ah, yes. By the way, I had a brain blast about Limbus Company recently, especially about how the spiders, because I had this itch on the back of my head that I have seen a House of Spiders before. Where have I seen a House of Spiders before? Where I have seen these 5 characters of Nurse Fathers before? And then it blasted me. It finally hit me. I know where I've seen them. I'm not gonna tell you right now, but fuck it, I'll tell you right now. I am thinking about Hunter x Hunter. That's right. If you have watched Hunter x Hunter, good on you. It's a good anime. But Hunter x Hunter had a group called Spider Troop or something like that, and they had eerily similar characters to that of the House of Spiders. To the point that I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, there might be some relation here. And what I mean is, one of the characters, the one that wants revenge of the House of Spiders, has red eyes, and it's going there for the massacre of his clan. We have a big beastly guy with brown skin that he's shrugged off any gimmick thrown his way easily, and he's super strong, and funny enough, he gets countered by chains. We have someone that is really good with suing, not suing as in like a lawyer, but suing people back together with their power, and a bunch of others, which I'm starting to believe that maybe there's some inspiration from there. Maybe, just maybe. Just, you know, most likely. I'm gonna do some research on the characters and maybe rant about it on Twitter. I know, a horrible mistake, but still, I want to take a look and see, this isn't familiar. I've seen this before, and I think I did, because that's literally just the Spider Troop once again. I just need to do a little bit more research on it before I can say that for sure this is the House of Spiders, the Spider Troop. Not that it is, but you know, everything that we see in media nowadays is an iteration of something from the past. Everything is an iteration of something else, or reiteration, iteration, doesn't matter what it is. So it doesn't come as a surprise that, maybe I do that in my tabletop as well. Like, I see something cool, I want to put that something cool, but my version of it. And to risk doing a fallacy It's much like food, once again. Yeah, food analogy and all that, but everyone just cooks the same thing. The way you make is what makes a difference. You know, the spices you put, the way you cook it. But again, I have to check it out. I gotta do research on that before I can say for sure that it. But there's some similarities here. There's a lot of similarities to the point like, hey, still very cool though. It's still very cool. There's no counters going off that I can retarget here, so it's a win rate round. Everything is the base to start. Everything is you built on the foundations people built for you. You see something cool, you want to do your version of it cool. That's how everything works nowadays. The way that you build these things together is what makes the difference at the end of the day. There we go. We got healing, we got low fence level down. As long as the enemy has sinking. Let's see our next pack. We have money here. We have burn. We have low speed turn to start. I want rebate token and risk gauntlets, honestly. In any case, I need to do the research on that because I just want to spewing bullshit just because there's some similarities, but there is a lot of them. I'm not some Hunter x Hunter god brain that knows everything about Hunter x Hunter. I've only watched the anime, honestly. Have never read the manga because the manga sites I used to read stuff are all dead and manga deck is an atrocity now. So I'm not gonna talk out of my ass just now. Even though that's exactly what I do every single stream. I just talk, I just yap about things. Bro's just yapping. But it's very similar. It's very, very similar. Main character that is going against the spider troop has red eyes. She has a reason to kill all of them, and he plans to kill all of them for the murder of his clan. Let's see. There is Uvojin from the spider troop, which is the big strong guy. He's so strong that his voice can be used as a projectile of sorts. And he straight up ignore gimmicks that enemies throw his way by pure sheer power. Sounds similar? Yes, that's probably Matthias, but still, very big, strong guy. He gets wrapped up in chains by the guy that wants revenge on it, which is very funny again. There is a girl that is very good at suing people. Again, that's probably Callisto. I wouldn't call her like an artist, but there's a similarity in there. And I need to read about the other characters as well because I don't remember all of them. I remember there's a guy with a sword, a katana guy, which could serve as, you know, a Raya. He does have this like field around him that he detects anyone that moves because of Nen. But then again, that would imply I have to get back down into the what's it called? The Hunter x Hunter rabbit hole. Not even that, the first piece of art ever made based on nature. Yeah, everything that we experience is to be used when we want to express ourselves. There is a quote that I saw this few days. I don't remember from who, but it goes something like this. If we don't experience things outside of games, we will lose our ability to interact with games proper. In other words, see, touch grass. Go out there, try to experience things. The internet is just a simulacrum, even though most of the things I do are on the internet, but still. Go out there and experience things. It's fun. And as long as you don't die or you're doing something stupidly dangerous and reckless, it's an experience you're gonna think about it in the past. Because you sit down on the computer and think, oh, this is fun, this is nice, but then 10 years ago, oh, I was just on the computer all this time. I feel like that sometimes, but I have made myself very, very comfortable on the internet, and I do remember some funny things that I did on the internet, because I don't just sit here and play video games. I interact with people, I play games, and I have experiences. But it's a different experience than being outside. Everyone has their different experiences. I guess that can be said about anything, really. I'm just saying basic shit here. Don't listen to me. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy drinking coffee playing Limbus. I think you're gonna die this turn. There's nothing I can do here. You were marked. You have 2 different Book of Vengeance. How funny that you are dying to the Book of Vengeance, to the middle. You who boasted so much about the middle is protecting me. I guess the middle is not protecting you anymore, huh? Hello, Moises. Did I say hello? I think I did say hello. Hello anyway. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, hell yeah. Bloody Gadget. That's damage up, baby. Go down here. I want his fight. God damn it. This is such a cool aesthetic abnormality, man. I want this fight. Very nice. There is an anime convention that's going to be happening here in my city. I am thinking about going, but it's Star Wars themed, so I don't really care much about Star Wars. There's only one piece of media that I care about Star Wars, which is the Star Wars Dreams? Star Wars Dreams, yes. Which is basically they gave Star Wars to a bunch of Japanese studios and said, hey, you can do whatever you want. Just saying, you can do whatever you want. Go nuts. Yes, I like those. I like those very much. Alright, let's sell some gifts that we don't need. We got True Tremor gifts to help Upi Heathcliff on his quest to debuff everyone. I forgot to refresh to change his skills, but no matter. Let's get the Apply Tremor to everyone's skill. And the one where if we hit the enemy with a Tremor skill, we inflict more Tremor, because he desperately needs more Tremor. Floor 2, combat time. Today I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, your heart's good, boy. Your heart's good. Because that, I'm gonna get surgery soon enough, because I never told the story on stream. I should do it now. Hold on, hold on. Allow me to weave a story. Time for some bold lore. Time for some G4 lore. Hell yeah. Allow me to explain. I already mentioned several times in the past that I used to do sword fighting. Not historical martial arts, not kendo. Although I wish to do kendo. Nothing of the sort. But swordplay. Swordplay isn't exactly martial arts. It's technically LARP without the LARP. Just people hitting themselves with one sword. Anyway, I enjoyed that very much. It was one of my favorite sports to do. There was a lot of running, there was a lot of weapon swinging. It was fun. It was very fun. However, during one of those matches, I accelerated towards someone to hit them. And unfortunately, the ground I was stepping on was a little uneven. And so, when I was rushing this person, I realized I was rushing too fast. I had to brake, like, at once. Like, I need to halt my momentum forward, or else I would run over them. And I didn't want that to happen, of course. As I stepped on the ground with my right foot, full strength, kind of something like Bullhurt, not really. Also, hello, Neil J7P. I don't think I've seen you before, but if I have, do forgive me. But hello, welcome to the stream. Sort of like Bullhurt, maybe. We don't have armor. See, the thing about it's called buffering swordplay. Buffering swordplay doesn't have safety devices. We don't have armor. The safety device is the weapon itself that is made of PVC pipes and foam. In any case, I was rushing this person. I had to stop my momentum all at once. The ground wasn't even. When I stomped down my foot, right leg, to stop my momentum, the ground I was stepped on was inclined a little bit to the right. And so as I did that, I curved to the side and all my weight got put into my right knee, and everyone heard a pop. Yeah. It was just a pop. It was not nice. It was painful as hell. I rolled into the ground, and lo and behold, I had fucked up my knee. And my knee was fucked up to the point that I needed surgery. But I was walking after that. It was not that too bad. It wasn't too horrible. But so I just walked it off, recovered at home. I said I was gonna do swordplay for a while, so whatever. Before I continue the story, let me just select the next pack here. Fearful Things gives us rupture and more damage. I was burn. This gives us envy resonance. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Look at it's gonna envy. Pop goes the knee, indeed, Isaac. And so I went home after that, had recovered whatever. Ooh, free level up. Just recovered and didn't do swordplay much after that. Let's say I'm just gonna take time and recover. It's not hurting a lot, so I probably can walk this off, no problem. So we just kind of, you know, just rupture poise ego. Give me the rupture one. Your rupture gift is actually good. Just recovered. Fast forward a few months, right? I'm still not doing swordplay anymore because I'm scared of my foot and, you know, circumstances of life. I had to climb up to the roof to fix some stuff in my house. I fixed the stuff, and then I gotta go get back down. Problem is, I didn't have a ladder. And so I thought, hey, this is like a 2-meter drop. It's not too high. I could probably just, you know, drop, and when I hit the ground, I flex my knees and absorb the impact. And it would have worked, ironically. I decided, okay, I'm just gonna, you know, slide off from the roof, fall down, and essentially squat when I hit the ground. This was back when I was like 27, probably. It's been a few years. And so I did. I slid down, dropped. Problem. When I landed on the ground, ready to absorb the impact like this, I'm gonna fall and then my knees would do like this. I landed my right foot, funny enough, on a brick. So it was slightly higher. And so once again, my right leg absorbed all of the impact of my body falling down. Hurt like a motherfucker, recovered for a while, etc, etc. Still didn't go to the doctor. Even though it's free, I live in Brazil, there is free healthcare here, so I could have just done that. Anyway, fast forward a few more months. I am helping my neighbor's kid practice swordplay. So we're fighting, I'm teaching him tricks about how to use a sword, and then suddenly I've been blocking one of his attacks. Pop goes the knee again. I said, enough is enough, time to go to the doctor. Went to the doctor, did an MRI scan on my leg, and this took a few months, mind you, to actually go to the going to the doctor, talking to him, he asking for MRI, and then I go do the, you know, scan my right knee to see what the fuck. I'm Brazilian, yes! Anyway, it took a while for me to actually see the doctor. The doctor say, hey, all right, I can't do shit because I don't know if you're, how fucked is your leg. Go do a scan. I went, did the scan, and he said that your cross ligaments of your right knee have snapped completely. They are fucking snapped open. Your leg is loose. Your leg, the joint of your leg and your knee is loose. You can literally move it up and down because there's nothing holding it. It's just muscle, you know. And the thing that I don't know the name, menisc disc, yes, that goes in between your leg and your thigh also has a wound in it. So you're pretty fucked. We're gonna have to, you know, operate it. We're gonna have to cut up. Indeed, I am an English teacher. I am an English teacher. I will take that as a compliment. In any case, your menisc disc has to be. Have to cut off a bit of your menisc disc. That is the thing that pretty much serves as like a cushion between your two bones. You're gonna have to cut off the wounded part. We're gonna have to clean it up for any wounds, and then we're gonna have to connect the ligaments back again. But we're gonna do this surgery in 2 parts. I don't know why he decided to do it in 2 parts. Doctor's a little annoying. So I did my first surgery. He cleaned it up. 2 months later, I go back to him, and he is telling me to, all right, you gotta lose some weight. I tried to lose weight, went to the gym, did my best, and he kept saying, you gotta lose weight, you gotta lose weight, you gotta lose weight, and I was trying my best to lose weight. But I decided to, you know, say, hey, I need that surgery because I need to do stuff. You know, I need to do stuff. And so he says, all right, we're gonna rush the surgery even though you're still, you know, kind of chunky, kind of chubby. but you're gonna sign like a term of consent. Today I went to the doctor to check on my heart to see if everything's good for a surgery. Doctor said, your heart's fine, you're good to go, buddy. And then now I'm gonna wait a week, about to go back to the doctor and say, so we can schedule a surgery. So soon enough, I will be doing surgery, so maybe sometime in the future you guys might have to, you know, wait for until I come back, because I'm gonna be recovering for surgery for like a day or two. I'm not gonna be streaming. But still, yeah, that's why I stopped sword fighting. But once I'm recovered and once I'm fit again to fight, I am going to buy a GoPro and I'm gonna strap it to my head and I'm gonna record and post videos of me fighting in this channel. And I'm gonna do something cool that I saw once, which is you get a GoPro, you put it on the hilt of the blade, like the hand guard, pointing up along the back of the blade, and then you record the swings. And I'm so eager to do that. I'm just so eager to go back to doing sports, you know. Not a big sports guy, mind you, but I just want to go back to sword fighting because it was legit one of my favorite sports ever since I figured out it existed. I'm yapping, let me take a drink. Thank you, new Love Kitty, new Love Kitty, Love Kitty, there we go. And anyway, I discovered a sport, so to speak. I'm gonna talk about it again. Back when I was like in my teens, probably teens, early adulthood, somewhere along those lines. Don't remember when exactly. I went to an enemy convention and I saw these guys fighting with foam weapons, and I said, hey, that's pretty good. I already, you know, played a little bit with swords as a kid, mostly sticks. Me and my friend would hit each other with sticks. We got a few bamboo sticks, we would clean it up, and then we would hit each other with it. And we discovered the wonders that is having a hand guard, you know, like a Weber cover guard, because our fingers were so fucked up from fighting with swords. And I got really cocky. I got into the sword fighting pit there and said, I'm gonna rock these guys because I've been practicing my sword slices. And then I got my shit rocked, and well, I learned about the sport, decided to join. It was a fun time and I've been practicing ever since, until I had this unfortunate accident. And that's the only reason why I stopped. I really can't do any sort of, what's it called, exercise that you run, that you make your heart beat faster. It's tip of my tongue. Not bodybuilding, not muscle, cardio. I couldn't do cardio because of my leg. Anything that put any pressure on my leg, the doctor said for me not to do it. I mean, the way you describe it, factor leg is impressive. Yeah, I was a little reckless, I'll tell you that much. I was not doing too well. I was kind of stupid. The first time it happened, I should have gone to the doctor. Because again, Brazil, I can just go to the doctor. I'm gonna flex that especially hard because it's one of my, you know, I do have this advantage here in the land of soccer, land of football. Land of wait. What do I update here? I got a smorgasbord of eagle gift here. We do have some poise, so this one can actually work. We have no charge right now. We have rupture on hit, so this one can trigger. This one is damage up. Enemy rupture on time. Sanity down. Just extra pride or single coin. We do have a few pride single coins, don't we? We're missing the charge gift. We have this garbage that we can sell. Let's sell that one. That one's garbage. Oracle's kind of garbage. I've been just short stuff for a while, but I ended up grabbing to Buhurt because I played rugby most of my life. Yeah, the only reason why I wouldn't do Buhurt is one, money. Brazil and money does not combine. I'm not exactly wealthy. My computer is very old. I just figured out how this shit works and decided to start streaming. And so it requires money to buy the armor, so you don't get, you know, broken ribs and other lesions, because you're still playing with metal swords. Even though you're not probably, I don't know if Buhurt goes full strength, because that's the main thing. I'm gonna get my weapon again. 1 second. It's right over there. Let me go you my weapons again. Where can I put the torch to? Back control stream because it's fixed it. Should be around here somewhere. No. Mace. And here we go. There we go. So, swordplay doesn't. We don't have. Some people do have armor, so to speak, but it's mostly like costume. You just want to look cool. Let me tell you a brief story about swordplay. And it's the story I've heard, so I don't know how real it is. So, nowadays, the word LARP has been co-opted to become something else. Everyone talks, oh, he's a LARPer, or LARP, LARP, LARP. But LARP just means live action roleplay, correct? Just, that's a NB skill coming up, right? Right. Anyway, LARP usually means live action roleplay. Back in the younger days, people who played tabletop games, role-playing games, decided, hey, what if we did the roleplay, but we disguised, you know, costumed ourselves as the characters? So they did that. It's pretty much you just dress up as your character that you created, and you roleplay as that character live action roleplay, LARP. Very nice, very good, but a lot of these tabletops, a lot of these roleplays require combat. So how do we do combat while pretending to be these characters? If you think it's cringe or not, doesn't matter. How do we do combat without someone fucking dying? Well, the answer was we make weapons that don't hurt, because we're not wearing full armor. Like, the guy role-playing as a knight isn't going to buy a full plate of armor unless he's filthy rich, you know? So we're gonna go with weapons that don't hurt when you hit your enemy, your friend that is role-playing with you. So they created these types of weapons here. I got a dagger here in my hand. Okay. It's a bit big, it's big and bulky. It doesn't look like a dagger because of how bulky it is, but believe me, it's supposed to be a dagger. This is a PVC pipe. I don't know if you can hear. It's a PVC pipe. And this is a pool noodle. This is just a pool noodle that you can squeeze it. It's kind of soft. We just kind of give it a rough shape of a weapon and cover it in duct tape and add some tape to make it look like a weapon. And you can hit it. You can hit it. It bounces back. It doesn't hurt. So they made these kinds of weapons to be able to role play. It's cool and all, but some people didn't want to pretend to be a character, you know? So they just wanted to fight. And since we didn't have to buy pieces of armor and safety equipment, they just set up some rules like, hey, no hitting with full strength, because even though these weapons are padded, it's going to hurt. No hitting the face, because even though these weapons are padded, you hit someone in the nose, that's gonna break. You hit someone in the eye, that's gonna hurt. Teeth as well, etc. No hitting the throat, because it can actually hurt, because, you know, no safety equipment. We don't have helmets, we don't have nothing. And of course, not hitting the privates, because that's a low blow. In any case, some people decide, I don't want to roleplay, I just want to do the fighting, and so they just took these padded weapons and started hitting each other with it. And that's swordplay buffering. In a nutshell, that's how it basically works. You and a bunch of other people that want to do sword fighting, you just make these padded weapons, which you can make at home. They're very easy to make, kind of, but kind of cheap. And then you just hit each other with it and use whatever, you know, whatever techniques you want. This is the most important part for me. Let me go back to that. In Bohurt, Hema, Kendo, or whatever other martial art, what have you, you are bound to follow their teaching, you know? If you're doing European martial arts, HEMA, you are going to be doing historical martial arts stuff. Just start it correctly, you're alive. Plenty of trimmer decay here. Let's level down, let's level down. Right? So if you're doing historical European martial arts, you're going to be following the great masters, you're going to be following the manual, you're going to be doing their techniques with the spins, you know? Where you do high guards, low guards, whatever. In swordplay buffering, there is no set rules of how you should wield your weapon. As long as the weapon hits the opponent with enough strength to make a sound, it counts as a hit. So it doesn't matter if you don't know how to fight and you're just swinging your sword around left and right without a care in the word, or if you're a trained individual that has spent like $1,000 in materials to practice historical European martial art. As long as the attack physically hits, it counts as a hit. And so during swordplay buffering fights, there is this huge variety of weapons that everyone uses, and a huge variety of tactics, which is very fun. Let me just throw down a turn here so he doesn't live past its expiration date. Okay. So when you go into a swordplay buffering fight, there is a lot of people using different weapons. Not all of them are using long swords, not all of them are using sword and shield. There's guys with spears, there's guys with katanas, there's guys with true daggers, guys with throwing axes, guys with bow and arrow, etc., etc. I like the big weapons because I'm a big guy. This here is one of my favorites. I didn't use it as much, but it's still one of my favorites. It is a two-handed mace. It's very nice, it's beautiful, it's very well balanced, and I wish I got more use out of it before, you know, the leg snapper. It even has, I bought some, you know, those cheap bubble guns that have tattoos in them? Yeah, I bought some of them and I put some tattoos onto the thing. Let me see if you guys can see it here. Kinda can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but still, it's a very cool weapon, and I wish I got more use out of it. I wish I could have done more swordplay, honestly. I didn't do enough before the leg napping. Sure, I made this, yeah? I have others, but I don't think they'll fit in the frame. Let me see if I can get another one, just a second. Ah, man, I'm getting nostalgic again. Alright, this here is the big fucking hammer. It's basically a block of foam on a very long stick that I can't even fit on frame right now. It's very nice, it's very heavy too. And I hit people with it. Very nice. I loved it. I love to use this weapon. Everyone was scared of it for good reason. Try to put it on screen. Big ass katana. Stretch my body to use it fully. I love using this one. And this one is my heaviest one too. In any case, use the big weapon because I'm a big boy. And I didn't exactly know how, I didn't sprint very well. Being a big boy, I don't do a lot of running. So, yeah, they're not difficult to make. They're fun to make too. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have done more, a lot more. All right, we kind of don't want to kill it right now. So let's just do 2 attacks and the rest become counters. Anyway, I'm getting nostalgic now. I want to fight more. But rest assured, once I recover from this surgery and I'm back in the physical condition to do swordplay, there will be videos of this here, because it's one of my favorite hobbies. And I wanted, it's not I stopped because I ran out of money or something. I just had to stop because I couldn't continue. Which sucks. All right, we kill it. Turn that into a counter. Turn that into a counter. There we go. Alright, that should kill it because it had to consume all its self-charge. Well, shit. Didn't he? I think I misread it. Oh well, nothing to do now but to clash against it and wait. Really, I hate this boss sometimes. I think its mechanic is really cool, but I hate this boss sometimes because sometimes it doesn't work the way you wanted. Anyway, yeah, swordplay buffering, really fun. I even showed some images here of stream back then. I'm not gonna dig them up now because I've been reorganizing my computer and I'm kind of zipping them all away. But I had a lot of pictures from that. No skipping today. I'm going through a lot of things. Welcome, Rachel. I see the curse has let go of you for a second. How are you doing? It's a fine Friday. Oh, send me a message this time. It's... Who the fuck is this? It's someone trying to... Every night and morning, I am bombarded with messages from people trying to scam me. What's up? What's this? All right, let's check out. We got base power +1. This sucks. Clash power, final power, and base power. We'll take base power and we'll take offense level. Base power because we're gonna gain offense level, which will counteract that for a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Ah, we got Nocturnal Sleeping. Let's go for it. We can get the middle exclusive gift here. Hell yeah. And True Mysteries in the row. At a crossroads in life right now, so your streams are great to relax. I am glad to be of service. I stream every day, by the way. You're welcome here in every day that I'm streaming. Tomorrow, we are going to have the Project Moon tabletop session, which I am the GM for. So I'm not going to be streaming at the usual time. Depends on how things go. Ah, I never failed that check. I never seen this as a combat encounter. I wonder what it is. Ah, it's sweepers. Do we have to fight the whole sweeper horde here? Okay, it's just a single wave of 11 sweepers. Got it. It's not the entire horde of sweepers. You think you should do something to enjoy your life or something that's a successful career? A mix of them. If you do something for a successful career but you don't enjoy, you're just gonna grind yourself down and just feel worse and worse. However, money is important. Unless your dream and aspiration really is to go for a successful career and, you know, and have a successful career, you should do something that you enjoy. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, and I mean like not, I'm not talking about like just having mindless fun. Of course, pursue your dreams and aspirations. Something that you say you're going to enjoy. But everyone needs money. Reality doesn't stop just because they're having a dream, you know. There's no such thing as free lunch either, so someone's going to have to pay. So having a job or money is important, but if you're just killing yourself mentally for money, it's really not worth it. Because the system that we live in, and I'm not gonna get political or anything, but the system we live in is not designed to be won, you know? So don't try to be another cog in a machine, because you're just gonna get used up, chewed out, and thrown away once your usefulness has come to an end. Try to enjoy yourself as much as you can, but remember that everything in moderation, everything with a degree of moderation, because still have to live, still have to go on. I will give an example, since you talk about this. I had a job in the past as real estate salesman. Well, not salesman, I assisted in the sales. I was an assistant to a real estate guy that sold houses and stuff. Don't know the actual name for the job I had. That job paid really, really well. Paid like maybe 4 times more when I'm getting paid right now as an English teacher, and my pay as an English teacher is fucking horrible, by the way. Don't be English teachers. But that job ground my mental sanity down like nothing else. If I'm thinking I don't want to go to war today, or where there's a whip, there's a way when I'm going to work, means something is wrong. Same thing when I worked at a hotel. When the hotel didn't pay as well, but anyway, job real estate. It was an okay desk job. I just had to pay attention to a bunch of documents. It paid really, really well, but I felt miserable every day that I went to that work. There wasn't a day I was happy to go to work, thinking, time to go to work. I'm gonna, you know, just I went with the mentality like, fuck, another day, another dollar, right? Another day, another dollar.
Eventually, the boss did catch on that maybe this wasn't the job for me and let me go. We let go on friendly terms. It wasn't like an accident that happened or anything of the sort. But after I left that job, I immediately jumped into being an English teacher, and I haven't been happier. I am poor. I am very impoverished. I'll make no lie to you. And very poor, very impoverished. The job pays like shit, but I'm happy doing it. I'm having a good time. I like to yap. I like to talk. I like to teach people. That's why I do ID studies here, because Limbus is something I know a lot of. The lore of the game is also fantastic, and all the other things that surround it as well. But I might be poor and destitute right now, but I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. My life is good. I wouldn't say that my life is. I'm well off or anything else. It's one. If my motorcycle breaks or something big happens in the house, I'm fucked. I have very meager savings, but I'm happy. And being happy is it's more important than anything else. We only got one shot at life, right? So let's try to be as happy as we can. And I'm not saying like to be reckless or stupid, like, oh, you only got one life. I'm gonna smoke the shit out of this. Yeah. But you know, try to find what actually makes you happy and have fun with it. I, for example, enjoy video games a whole lot. Very good. Completely understand. I had to see when I started college doing engineering, but realized I hated it, so I started on 3D animation next year instead. But you mentioned that I also went to college for computer research and development. I did like half the college, and then I realized this fucking blows. I hate this. I don't want to do this because the same thing over and over again. And the one time I tried to do something creative with the knowledge I was acquiring there, it was immediately shot down by my teacher. Fuck that guy, by the way. I want to talk about it because it's something I had a little pride on because I thought it was cool. So since I played a lot of video games, read a lot of manga, got exposed to a lot of media, you know? I always thought about like security systems and stuff like that. That's cool, like Metal Gear cool. And so I went with the idea like, all right, I like lasers. I've been messing around with Arduino. I want to make a laser system. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I would make an array of 2 lasers horizontally, and these 2 lasers, according to the order they are activated, would be able to tell if someone is entering or leaving a room. And I would program it so that if someone enters a room at the time that a room is supposed to be closed, like say a storage facility, and someone enters on off hours, it would send a silent it would be connected to a camera. It would detect that someone is entering outside of operational hours. It would turn on the camera in silent, record a 5-second video, and then send that video with a warning to the person responsible for that storage area. All in silent, and this would be dictated when according to the order of laser activation. And so you had this like system where the person enters, don't know that they have been detected. The guy that is supposed to get the video, see exactly who's doing that, and all that good shit. And if someone leaves, the same thing activates, record and all. I thought it was genius, but that was cool as hell. I put the idea forth to my teacher, and the guy said, you know what, that's kind of dumb. You should be doing something for a factory with your lasers, you know. That's kind of stupid. There's already enough security systems. You should be doing things for factories. I think that's the point where I decided, fuck this college, fuck this teacher. Maybe I should have stayed there, maybe I'll finish that college someday, but I realized that it wasn't for me. There were some other ideas I had for... I didn't have the best one, this one is one that I like, the laser one, but there was one that I really wanted to do, which was the political encyclopedia that would almost 100% get me, you know, in some lists or killed. Here in Brazil, when we have election, there is a lot of candidates, and we don't know nothing about them outside, unless you're like a political freak that watches politics all the time. You don't know anything about these guys. So my idea was to make it like a Wikipedia kind of thing, where you could see all the official data for candidate, all the things that he has officially promised, and the things he has delivered. And it would literally just be like that. You access the website, you go into your state, you go into your city or whatever, depending on which candidate you're looking for, and there is all the official details of this candidate for you to peruse to see, is this guy worth my vote or no? He promised this and this and this and that on a few years back, but never delivered on this, or said this, or he's being officially investigated for this, or he went to jail because of this. Only official data, nothing like hearsay or something that he said on TV but wasn't official. He just make a passing comment on something. So you had the entire technical specs of the candidate. I made a mock-up of it. It was cool, but I dropped that project when I dropped college. It was fun. I had ideas, but the ideas didn't match for what the teachers wanted at the time. And maybe I was a little rash now in hindsight, looking back. I should have stayed at the college and tried something else, or do the project anyway, but that's in the past now. Maybe one day I'll go back to that college and finish it. Right now I'm doing college for languages to get an actual degree and officialize my position as a teacher. But more to the point of your question, New Love Kitty, do something that you enjoy. Of course, you still have to worry about your survival, bills, food. Nothing is free after all, but the system that we live in is not designed for anyone to win unless you are already in the game. You already have, contact with people in the game. So unless your dream is literally to be someone successful career as dictated by our overlords, go for something that you enjoy, that you can truly say, I am having a fun time. The UPS system, hell yeah. We're not getting the middle gifts here, are we? Let me try and use for... I think it was a tier 2 blunt, right? The tier 2... It was a tier 2 blunt. God damn it, I got a skeletal crumbs. Right? No, that's a tier 3 blunt. Damn it. It's a tier 3. Oh, there's a tier 3 and a tier 2. I guess we can do this and 60% chance. Flip that coin. Chains of loyalty. Hell yeah. If only could get the level 2 as well. And nothing. Damn it. Anything I can sell here that I don't use? All of these are very good. We're gonna keep them. I know we could sell the sinking gift because we don't have thinking. We need Midwinter Nightmare or something else. Oh well, what can you do? We got something at least. We got UPS system and we got the Risk Gauntlets that we can upgrade with something. We already have True Healing Gifts. Thanks, man. It's great to hear this from you. I don't have a lot of hours to experience such things to ask for. I'm the only person in my family to ever get grades in college. I'm gonna tell you that it's not gonna be easy because this is something I experience every day in my life. Because I'm a very detached person from society. Not detached. I'm not like a hermit or anything. I might as well be. I live in a rural area in a small house with very little money and only access to the internet. So I'm by definition a weirdo hermit of the woods. But whenever I go out in public to do stuff, especially when I go to the shopping mall to get do something that my mother asks or get some documents, because the mall here is a mix of government building and a few other things. I always take the opportunity to go around and look at the stores, and I think, man, I don't want to buy anything from the stores. There's all these beautiful displays, all these products with like a little marker, buy now, holy shit, it's yours. And I look around and I feel like, I don't want any of this, man. And I see the other people just looking around, buying stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it, I don't understand. And I feel this sense of alienation from society. Same thing on when I hear about celebrities, when I get ads on YouTube and I get ads on my phone. Everyone's trying to push to something, but that I feel no desire whatsoever to engage with. And I start feeling get this feeling that maybe I don't fit, maybe I'm not for this society or whatever, and I feel bad about it because human beings are social creatures. We want to be a part of something, and when you go out into the world and you see that you don't really fit in with the culture or what's happening around you, you feel a little detached. You feel like a stranger, if you will. Sorry, you feel like a stranger in everything. That's what part of the book where the stranger Mercil we read here on stream kind of touches upon, because everyone expected, for example, Mercil to act a certain way. When he didn't, he was considered a weird one and not even human. But it's an uphill battle. You're gonna feel like maybe I should be doing something more, you know, socially accepted. Like maybe I should do the job that my father asked me to do. Like, I'm gonna throw examples here, nothing in particular. I don't know any of you personally, so let's say I work in a family. I work with my family, and my family has like this traditional shop that everyone in every generation has been working with, and I want to do something else, but my father say I have to do this, and I don't really want to do this, but because I don't want to be the weirdo of the family, I go in, I drag my feet, I go and do the job that I don't want to do. That is an example, just the kind of thrown out there. We want to fit in, but sometimes we really don't need to, and we're kind of, the society kind of try to force you. But once you go past that, if you have your way to survive, your money that you gain somehow, and you pay your bills, you get your food, fuck whatever society thinks of you. Unless you're breaking any laws or doing something immoral, sorry, and illicit, fuck whatever else thinks. Just be yourself and be happy. I decided to be myself and be happy. When I removed my hair, I received a lot of jokes, and I still get funny looks about people when I say, oh no, I shaved my head, I don't care about hair. Especially when I start getting ads on my phone about hair transplant, even though the phone doesn't know I shave my head. Same thing where I use just glasses every day. Same thing about my beard style, the way I dress, etc. I just decided I am going to be myself and I'm going to be happy. And that's all that matters. Not to say that I don't feel insecure sometimes about my internal feelings about how things work and such, but you sometimes has to drive those thoughts away, or just, you know, reflect a little bit and why do you feel like that, and find a root of what is making you uncomfortable. Anyway, I'm just saying the things that I went through, so don't take anything I say for like actual truth, because it ain't. It's just how I operate. I expect you're admitting about the book that he has stranger to himself, sort of. Let's do purples. Let's do purples. Let's do purples. Let's do purple. Full purple power. Anyway, do what you want to be happy, as long as it's not something illicit or immoral. And we're not gonna talk about morality right now because it's a can of worms. But as long as you're not doing something illegal, immoral, harming others, be yourself, be happy. Fuck whatever anyone else tell about you. If you are paying your bills and you are getting your food at the end of the day, no one has the right to say anything about you. They can sure, they can call you a weirdo. They can call you like, oh, you weirdo, you don't belong here. Fuck them. They're not paying your bills. You gotta have a strong image of yourself inside your own heart. You finished The Stranger? I don't want to spoil. I finished The Stranger on stream, Isaac. We read the entire thing here on stream. Blast the sweepers. I heard that eagle heals? I don't remember if the eagle heals. What the fuck? Ah, I guess that eagle heals, huh? Anyway, the topic got a little heavy, sorry. I have so many stories to talk about this topic, but I'm not gonna focus on it right now because some of them are a little personal to me, but I'm gonna say this without an ounce of shame, that Project Moon has played a very big role in me reassuring myself and wanting to keep on living. I'll stop at that, and we're gonna leave it at that, alright? And without an ounce of shame, there's no shame admitting that you were influenced by a game. Even if the story, if you read in a game, isn't real, does not make the wisdom and the words of it any less real. Or are we gonna ignore older stories? Older stories like mythology, etc. Or any other lesson that you learn from books just because the story isn't real, right? In any case. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, lately I downloaded a bunch of like, what's it called? I downloaded a bunch of JRPGs of dubious qualities, most of them RPG Maker ones, and I've been playing them, having a good time. And man, I may talk shit about the Clash system sometimes, how there's some real problem with the system, and well, I've been playing them, and Jesus Christ, I love the Clash system, man, because there's nothing I hate more than playing a JRPG, and then the enemy attacks me. He deals a lot of damage. Damn, I gotta do something now. I gotta cast heal. But as I cast heal, the enemy hits me again, and I lose all the health I healed again. And it gets into the cycle of heal, get hit, heal, get hit, heal, get hit. It does get a lot better if you have multiple party members with attacks that can hit multiple enemies. But after playing through a few JRPGs, I would never say anything bad about the Clash system again, up until I forget this thing I said right now and talk shit about it again. But the Clash system is so much better, man, because there's nothing I hate more in a video game than the enemy attacking me in a turn-based game and I can't do nothing about it. Like, wait until it's your turn so they can actually hit the enemy. Found out about these games back in 2022 and both the companies so much in my life. It's because Whom has clearly gone through some shit. He has clearly gone through some shit. Never there's options like blocking your opponent because it's better to attack and block. Yeah, it's the action economy. Action economy is merciless. Whenever you do an action that is not contributing or you're skipping an action, it had better be a damn good action, because otherwise you are hurting yourself about the action economy. There's an excellent video about that. Let me look it up. This is why when I'm doing ID studies here on the channel and we are looking at stuff, give it a second. I am loading YouTube here to look. Where the hell is it? I'll look up this video later. But anyway, in any turn-based game, you have something called the action economy. Whenever each side of the fight has more actions, the side is more likely to win the combat because they can do more actions than you. Same thing here goes in Limbus. So whenever I'm doing an ID study, whenever an ID can do an assist attack, an AoE, or just a free attack, it's going to affect the action economy. If you have more actions than your enemy have, you're most likely to win. It's going for, but we get the tattoos, no! I want the tattoos, let's give us, we can clap, so we nullify one the other. Except Ufi Heathcliff, he's gonna suffer. Anyway, when an enemy has more actions than you, he's likely to win. If you have more actions than the enemy, he is likely to win, etc., etc. If you're doing an action in a turn-based game that is not helping you win the fight, you're wasting an action unless that action really compensates for the lost action. For example, if you're playing a JRPG and you decide to use a buff item, right? I'm gonna drink the potion of extra damage. Yummy. But if this potion isn't like doubling your damage, the next attack is only gonna be like a 1.3% extra damage. You are hurting yourself because you're losing out on damage that you're supposed to be doing to the enemy, and you say, oh, but not everything is about damage. Therefore, no, everything is about damage. In a turn-based fight, you want to win because it's not a tabletop RPG where you can talk things out. If you're playing a game that is logical and limited on the computer or console, you want to win the fight unless it has some conditions like get the enemy to 30% HP, but no, still gotta do damage to get the enemy that low. So, action economy, if you have more actions than your enemy, you are most likely to win unless the enemy has some crazy gimmick. Because you're simply gonna act more times than him, you're gonna pump out more damage. If the action you're doing is not attacking the enemy, it best damn well be something that will help deal more damage, like a buff, or heal, or whatever it is. In Limbus, it works pretty much the same, even though it has the clash system. It is still a turn-based game. When you have more actions than your enemy, you get a lot more unopposed attacks, which is just free damage, free debuffs, etc, etc. Healing in Limbus also works from egos, which are also attacks, or passives, or whatever. So you're still interacting with the game without having to lose an entire action to heal. For example, when we're going to use Fluid Sac Faust is an AoE attack. Only thing you need to do is have the resources, and you're going to lose some sanity doing it. But the payoff is an attack that hits multiple enemies, so that action is worth more actions, and it also heals your team. So it's an excellent attack. I like the depth in Limbus because sometimes you have to choose between doing more damage or building up your identity with permanent ego passive in Railway. That's pretty much, yeah, Railway. That's why the Railway is so good. The mirror dungeon, the way I'm doing with all of these rules, is sort of to work around that. So we, have some challenge along the... Ooh, apologies. Some challenge along the way, which is sort of what we've been trying to do. Let's see if we can get the Book of Vengeance. Buy that Thunder Memory. Let's fuse some gifts into Blunt. Throw that in there. And... let's see, we don't need a rebate token anymore. There we go, Book of Vengeance. We're powered up. Anyway, that's why we do the Mirror Dungeon with a few challenges to make things a little bit more, well, challenging. And this one. Very good. Anyway, the clash system is excellent because you're not wasting a turn doing something. Everything you have to do, you have to clash against the enemy. And if the enemy attacks you, you can still defend yourself with an evade, a block, or whatever. It is not like a JRPG or Dungeons and Dragons where you just stay still and let the enemy hit you because the enemy rolled higher than your defense. I hate that. I absolutely despise it. I absolutely despise armor class because it doesn't feel like, narratively speaking, for Dungeons and Dragons, if you're not aware, here's how it works. Your character has something called armor class. Armor class is how difficult it is to actually hit you and deal damage, mind you. When an enemy rolls an attack against you, they must roll higher than your armor class to actually hit you. Narratively speaking, armor class in Dungeons and Dragons are all your defensive capabilities combined. Your ability to dodge, how tough is your armor, how tough is your hide if you're a monster, what magical protection you have covering your body. If someone rolled higher than your armor class, that means he defeated every defensive option you have. He sliced through your armor, he hacked through your flesh, he penetrated your magical shield, whatever it is that you have. So armor class represents all your defensive abilities. You failed to defend yourself, or the guy was just that strong. I dislike that. I don't like it. I think it would be better if I could, attack the guy's attack and properly parry. But no, armor class also takes into consideration a parry to be a part of your armor class, because it's funny. In any case, I don't like that. That's why I love the clash system. Does armor class interact with different weapon types, like how plate armor is worse against blunt weapons? If I recall correctly, no. And then again, just because he hit you doesn't mean he's gonna do big damage, because in Dungeons and Dragons you roll to hit, and then you roll to deal damage based on your weapon. So if you have a weapon, if you have a high attack stat and you hit the guy, but you're wielding like a butter knife, which has like a 1d6 of damage or something like that, even though you penetrated his armor with your attack, it didn't do a lot of it won't do a lot of damage. So it's two different rolls. The clash system, of course, has its flaws. There's no such thing as a perfect system, but it's miles better because, especially in the tabletop RPG that I am GMing for, we get to see that in full display, where a character can choose to say, hey, I'm gonna clash offensively against this attack now. So if I do win, I don't take damage and I get to damage the target back, right? That's good, that's great. But you are going all or nothing, because if you lose the clash, which it will happen at some point, you do not have any defenses up. You lost the clash, you got hit, just to take the full damage. If I'm not confident that I can win the clash, or I'm low health or something like that, I will use a block instead. A block will reduce the damage by the amount I rolled versus the enemy attack. And if I do outroll his attack, I get to take no damage and he gets some stagger damage in return. Or you could use an evade. An evade, if you outroll the enemy attack, you completely evade and you gain your stagger back. The problem with this kind of mechanics is that it can make combat as log. Indeed, it can make a combat as log. That's why when we are playing on the tabletop, combat is the part that takes the most time. Because one, we're playing on Roll20, and Roll20 is very finicky with its operation. We are playing a homebrewed system that is also very jank, make no mistake. And since every time a roll is made, someone has to roll as well, so you don't get like, all right, I'm just going to attack. Oh, the guy has to attack too, and the gimmicks interact. That's why it works best on a video game like this, where it just goes automatically. You don't have to redo rolls or etc. Everything just goes automatically. Clash 1, effect applied, boom. It does make for a vlog, but combat has always been kind of a vlog in almost every single tabletop system. When they're not a vlog, they are too simplistic. The armor class thing for D&D is mostly to avoid that. The enemy doesn't have to roll when I roll. I just have to beat this number with my roll, and I hit, that's the end of the day. With Project Moon Tabletop, I attack, the enemy counterattack me, we both have to roll, and the enemy who wins applies the effect to me. If I win, I apply my effects on them, yada yada, etc, etc. It is mild better. I prefer the slog combat with a more depth in it, more meat on these bones, so that the combat actually feels like a combat, instead of I am just going to beat your armor class and then I win combat. I don't like that. I had a really bad experience with that when I was playing Pathfinder Kingmaker on PC. Let me tell you what happened. Pathfinder Kingmaker is very similar to Dungeons and Dragons in its essence, basically a carbon copy, honestly, but with a cool setting. Pathfinder Kingmaker is a CRPG you can play. It's cool. It's kind of long too, but it's cool. But it's the type of game that expects you to fully abuse any mechanic that you can, because if you don't, the enemy will. So you're kind of gonna go into it with a sweaty mindset in there. I was playing the game normally. I had some experience with tabletops and etc. So I wasn't, scared of it. So I just went, fought the best I could, defeated the enemy, whatever. I reached the point where I was fighting trolls. Trolls are infamous little creatures that regenerate really, really fast. The only way to permanently kill a troll is to hit him with acid or hit him with fire. These trolls in particular were immune to fire due to some magic shenanigans. I was going my way through this dungeon. I was having a hard time. The enemies were quite tanky, but I was progressing nonetheless, until I reached the final boss. The final boss had a little goblin that would buff him the first thing in the turn, and this troll was incredibly powerful, and if I allowed that goblin to buff him, he would have infinite AC, basically. He would be twice as fast as anyone, attacking twice per turn, and he could beat my tank a ridiculously high AC, and pretty much anyone else he could just automatically hit on his turn. Of course, you think, oh, just don't let the goblin, buff the guy, right? Well, I tried that too, but even without the buffs, he still had incredibly high amounts of HP and incredibly high AC, and his hits not only hit like a truck, it also rolled the tank's AC, which, was a problem by itself. Apparently, I was supposed to use psychic attacks against him because trolls are weak against that, but my team was a very generic RPG party. We had an archer, we had a rogue, we had a tank, a wizard, and a mage. The mage buffed the hell out of the paladin. Paladin shut down every potion she had. She was using a tower shield, she was using full plate, she had a high AC. Didn't matter, he still could outroll her AC and hit her for like ridiculous amounts of damage. And my mages were more focused on fireballing and other destructive spells than, debuffs of the kind. All that I was supposed to do there is, because I wasn't stuck in that fight, I could walk back, get another team, and come back with a better team, better prepared. But at the time, I was been playing the game for so long, and the dungeon was, you know, kind of decent hard. I didn't think I would get hard filtered to the last boss. I was just thought it was gonna be a reiteration of whatever I played so far. What made me mad is that I got countered by a guy with a gimmick that I wasn't prepared for, and I wasn't gonna walk back the entire dungeon, go back to camp, and then bring the guys that are good against him to properly fight him. I hate that kind of shit. So I kind of dropped the game there, but eventually I'll bounce back to it. It was a good game. But yeah, the clash system is just much better. The equivalent here would be a boss that outroll all your sinners and has like an evade that can outroll all your attacks as well, and he hits incredibly hard. But hey, wait a minute. Didn't we fight someone like that? Oh right, Valentina. She hits really hard. She hits extremely hard, and she has an evade that outrolls everyone. And we still can fight her and win. We didn't need psychic attacks. Kinda, maybe. You could use sinking. You could use AoEs to hit it. But at the time, I wasn't prepared. It was a little bit of a bitch moment for me, I will be entirely honest. I kind of, you know, got really mad at the game at that time because I was tired of the game because it didn't stop. It was just kept going. I was been playing for a week. And like, when is the end of this game? And I wasn't even at the half point of it. But anyway, yeah. The problem in this kind of mechanics is that combat can make a slog. It's annoying on one hand. I love how critical combat mechanic on the 3 hours fight is kind of sad. Yeah, you will see plenty of that tomorrow on the tabletop stream. Right, we have finished our dungeon. Let me just claim a reward here. My weeklies are done. What do I have to say about this team? Well, unfortunately, the Tremor Decay gimmick didn't work as expected. Sure, it was extra damage, and we were doing good amounts of damage there, as Tremor Decay is very good. But it wouldn't increase the power of the counters. That is the main problem with it. Because the counters use offense level to dictate their power. For now, we're gonna put this team to rest. Let me just collect my stuff here. And we are gonna get on with Crime and Punishment. Get Rhodia in the screen. I am gonna go get some water for myself. And then we are gonna get back to reading Crime and Punishment. So give me a moment as I'm gonna get water. Oh, yes. If you're here for Limbus gameplay, it's time to go. But if you're going, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. I will be right back with some water so we can read Crime and Punish. Hello, AquiMD. Can you do the MD again? I only just got here. Sorry, buddy. I just finished it, and it's already been like an hour and a half. An hour and a half? That was quick. Huh. I guess we did have OTAs, and OTAs, you know, kind of destroys the action economy too. Anyway, I'll be right back. Just gonna get some water. 1 second, please. I'm back. Don't they use defense level difference? The counters use defense level difference, but they use it for clash power. And so counters don't clash, so they don't gain power from that. They just do more damage. Let's go back to defense level for a second. Clash, Limbus. Enemies clash, they compare offense levels to see who's gonna get the more clash power, right? Very nice. Anyone that has a higher offense level will gain more clash power. Done. Clash resolved. We get to hit the enemy. We're now going to compare offense level with defense level to dictate how much extra damage I am going to do or how less damage I am going to do as well. That's it. Counterattacks. Counterattacks don't clash, so they go straight for the damage calculation. So we take the counter offense level, compare it to the enemy defense level, and then the counter deals more damage. The other way around is that if an enemy or an ally uses a defense skill like an evade or a block and their defense level is higher than the attacking enemy offense level, the defense skill will gain final power for every 3 levels of difference, meaning the block gets tankier. That's all it does. It only works for evade and block, unfortunately. But in any case, let us put the book on the screen. There we go, chapter 2 of part 5. So, let's do a quick recap of what happened last time. Raskolnikov is getting away with it. If you recall, Raskolnikov committed a crime. He killed the old moneylender, killed her sister, got away with it. No one saw him. He hit back the axe. Is it that one offense level difference is 3% more damage? Something along those lines, but offense level also do mess around with clash power. Okay, Raskolnikov got away with it. He's clear. He's having a psychotic breakdown, anxious breakdown, because he actually killed more people than he intended to. He was being maliciously hounded by Porfiry Petrovich, I think, that is the investigator responsible for investigating the case. And it all went to shit because when Porfiry was about to get him with his technique of hounding the person and letting their anxiety eat them inside, someone barged in and said it was me that did it. And then we stopped there. The beginning of part 5 has us in the shoes of Porfiry. No, not Porfiry. It was Lebeziatnikov and Peter Petrovich. Peter Petrovich was the former fiancé of Raskolnikov's sister. And he's very mad at Raskolnikov. And he's planning something with Sonia, the girl that Raskolnikov said he was going to tell who killed the old lady and her sister. And it's just a lot of things are mixing up together here. So let's begin our reading of chapter 2, shall we? Oh yeah, let me mute Limbus first. Whoops. It would be difficult to explain exactly what could have put the idea of that senseless dinner into Katerina Ivanovna's disordered brain. Nearly 10 of the 20 rubles which Raskolnikov gave for Marmeladov's funeral were wasted on it. Perhaps Katerina Ivanovna felt obliged to honor the memory of her late husband's suitability, so that all the tenants, Amalia Ivanovna in particular, might know that he was in no way their inferior and perhaps very much their superior, and that no one had the right to turn up his nose at him. Perhaps the chief element was that peculiar poor man's pride, which compels many poor people to spend their last savings on some traditional social ceremony, simply in order to do it like other people and not to be looked down upon. It is very probable, too, that Katerina Ivanovna longed on this occasion, at the very moment when she seemed to be abandoned by everyone, to show those wretched, contemptible lodgers that she knew how to do things, how to entertain, and that she had been brought up in a genteel, she might almost say aristocratic colonel's family, and had not been meant for sweeping floors and washing the children's ragged at night. Even the poorest and most broken-spirited people are sometimes liable to these spasms of pride and vanity, which take the form of an irresistible nervous craving. And Katerina Ivanovna was not broken-spirited. She might have been killed by the circumstances in which she found herself, but her spirit could not have been broken. That is, she could not have been intimidated. Her will could not be crushed. Moreover, Sonia had said with good reason that her mind was unhinged. No one could call her insane, but for a year now she had been so embarrassed that her mind might well be overstrained. The later stages of tuberculosis are apt, doctor tells us, to affect the intellect. There was not a large selection of wine, nor was there Madeira, but wine there was nevertheless. There was vodka, rum, Lisbon wine, and all of the poorest quality but in sufficient quantity. Besides the traditional rice and honey, there were 3 or 4 dishes, one which consisted of pancakes, all prepared in Amalia Ivanovna's kitchen. 2 samovars were boiling in order that tea and punch might be offered after dinner. Katerina Ivanovna had herself seen to be purchasing the provisions, with the help of one of the lodgers, an unfortunate little Pole who had somehow been stranded at Madame Lipewetcho's. He promptly put himself at Katerina Ivanovna's disposal, and had been running around all day as fast as his legs could carry him, and was very anxious that everyone should be aware of it. For every minor problem he ran to Katerina Ivanovna, even hunting her out at the market, at every instant called her Pani. She was thoroughly sick of him before the end of it, though she had declared at first that she could not have got on without this serviceable and magnanimous man. It was one of Katerina Ivanovna's characteristics to paint everyone she met in the most glowing colors. Her praises were so exaggerated as to be embarrassing on occasion. She would invent various circumstances to the credit of her new acquaintance, and quite genuinely believe in their reality. Then, all of a sudden, she would be disillusioned and would rudely and contemptuously repulse the person she had been literally adoring only a few hours previously. She had a naturally merry, lively, and peace-loving disposition, but due to her continual failures and misfortunes, she had come to desire so keenly that everyone should live in peace and joy, and should not dare to break the peace that the slightest problem, the smallest disorder reduced her to almost a frenzy, and she would pass in an instant from the brightest hopes and fancies to cursing her fate and raving and knocking her head against the wall. I think I'm so allergic to reading, my nose just popped the cork. I'm so sorry about that, QMD. What do you mean a nose popped the cork, buddy? Anyway, continue. Amalia Ivanovna, too, suddenly acquired extraordinary importance in Katerina Ivanovna's eyes. She was treated by her with extraordinary respect, probably only because Amalia Ivanovna had thrown herself heart and soul into the preparations. She had undertaken to lay the table, to provide the linen, crockery, etc., and to cook the dishes in her kitchen, and Katerina Ivanovna had left it all in her hands and gone off to the cemetery. Everything had been well done. Even the tablecloth was nearly clean. The crockery, knives, forks, and glasses had been lent by different lodgers and were naturally of all shapes and patterns, but the table was properly laid at the time fixed, and Amalia Ivanovna, feeling she had done her work well, had put on a black silk dress and a cap with the new mourning ribbons, and met the returning party with some pride. This pride, though justifiable, displeased Katerina Ivanovna for some reason, as though the table could not have been laid except by Amalia Ivanovna. She disliked the cap with its new ribbons, too. Could she be so dismissive, the stupid German, because she was the mistress of the house and had agreed as a favor to help her poor tenant? As a favor? Imagine! Katerina Ivanovna's father, who had been a colonel and almost a governor, had sometimes had the table set for 40 people, and anyone like Amalia Ivanovna, or rather Ludwigovna, would not have been allowed into the kitchen. It chose a time where I had nothing near me and just started bleeding at the verge of midnight. How financial? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you live in a very dry area? It might best be low humidity. Anyway, Katerina Ivanovna, however, put off expressing her feelings for the time being and contented herself with treating her coldly, though she decided inwardly that she would certainly have to put Amalia Ivanovna down and set her in her place. For goodness only knew how highly she thought of herself. Katerina Ivanovna was irritated too by the fact that hardly any of the tenants whom she had invited had come to the funeral, except the Pole, who had just managed to run into the cemetery, while to the memorial dinner the poorest and most insignificant of them had turned up. They were wretched creatures, many of them not quite sober. The older and more respectable ones amongst them stayed away, as if by common consent. Peter Petrovich Losing, for instance, who could be described as the most respectable of all the tenants, did not appear, though Katerina Ivanovna had the evening before told the whole world, that is, Amalia Ivanovna, Polenka, Sonia, and the Pole, that he was the most generous, noble-hearted man with a large property and vast connections, who had been a friend of her first husband's and a guest in her father's house, and that he had promised to use all of his influence to secure her a considerable pension. It must be noted that when Katerina Ivanovna praised anyone's connections and fortune, it was without any ulterior motive, entirely disinterestedly, for the mere pleasure of increasing the importance of the person praised, probably taking his cue from Losing that contemptible wretch Lebeziatnikov had not turned up either. Why did he think so highly of himself? He was only invited out of kindness because he was sharing the same room with Peter Petrovich and was a friend of his. It would have been awkward not to invite him. Among those who failed to appear were the genteel lady and her old maidish daughter, who had only been lodgers in the house for the last fortnight, but had several times complained of the noise and uproar in Katerina Ivanovna's room, especially when Marmeladov had come back drunk. Katerina Ivanovna heard this from Amalia Ivanovna, who, quarreling with Katerina Ivanovna and threatening to turn the whole family out of the doors, had shouted at her that they were not worth the foot of the honorable lodgers whom they were disturbing. Katerina Ivanovna determined now to invite this lady and her daughter, whose foot she was not worth, and who had turned away hotly when she met them casually, so that they might know that she was more noble in her thoughts and feelings and did not harbor malice, and might see that she was not accustomed to her way of living. She had proposed to make this clear to them at dinner with allusions of her late father's governorship, and also at the same time to hint that it was extremely stupid of them to turn away on meeting her. The fat colonel major, he was really a discharged officer of low rank, was also absent, but it appeared that he had not been himself for the last 2 days. The party consisted of a Pole, a wretched-looking clerk with a spotty face and a greasy coat, who had not a word to say for himself, and smelled abominably, and a deaf and almost blind old man who had once been in the post office, and who had been maintained by someone at Amalia Ivanovna's for as long as anyone could remember. A retired clerk of the commissariat department came too. He was drunk, had a loud and extremely indecent laugh, and just imagine, he came without a waistcoat. One of the visitors sat straight down at the table without even greeting Katerina Ivanovna. Finally, one person with no suit on appeared in his dressing gown, but this was too much, and the efforts of Amalia Ivanovna and the Pole succeeded in removing him. The Pole brought with him, however, 2 other Poles who did not live at Amalia Ivanovna's, and whom no one had seen before. All of this irritated Katerina Ivanovna intensely. From whom had they made all these preparations then? To make room for the visitors, the children had not even had places laid for them at the table, but the 2 little ones were sitting on a bench in the furthest corner with their dinner laid on a box, while Polenka, as the biggest girl, had to look after them, feed them, and keep their noses wiped like well-bred children. Katerina Ivanovna, in fact, could hardly help meeting her guests with increased dignity and even arrogance. She stared at some of them with particular severity and loftily invited them to take their seat. Rushing to the conclusion that Amalia Ivanovna must be responsible for those who were absent, she began treating her with extreme indifference, which the latter promptly observed and resented. Such a beginning was not a good omen for the end. All were seated at last. Raskolnikov came in almost at the moment of their return from the cemetery. Katerina Ivanovna was greatly delighted to see him, firstly because he was the one educated visitor and, as everyone knew, was to take a professorship at the university in 2 years' time, and secondly because he immediately and respectfully apologized for the fact that he had been unable to be present at the funeral. She absolutely pounced on him and made him sit at her left. Amalia Ivanovna was at her right. Despite her continual anxiety that the dishes should be passed around correctly and that everyone could take them, in spite of the agonizing cough, which interrupted her every minute and seemed to have grown worse during the last few days, she hastened to pour it in a half-whisper to Raskolnikov, all her suppressed feelings and her just indignation at the failure of the dinner, interspersing her remarks with lively and uncontrollable laughter at the expense of her visitors, especially of her landlady. "It's all that cuckoo's fault! You know who I mean? Her! Katerina Ivanovna nodded towards the landlady. "Look at her! She's making round eyes! She feels that we are talking about her and can't understand. Huh, the owl! And what does she put up that cap for? Have you noticed that you want everyone to consider that she's patronizing me and doing me an honor by being here? I asked her like a sensible woman to invite people, especially people who knew my late husband, and look at the set of fools she has brought. The sweeps! Look at that one with the spotty face, and those wretched Poles! Not one of them has ever poked his nose in here. I never set eyes on them. What have they come here for, I ask you? There they sit in a row. Hey, Pan, she cried suddenly to one of them, have you tasted the pancakes? Take some more. Have some beer. Won't you have some vodka? Look, he's jumping up and making his bows. They must be absolutely starved. Poor people. Never mind, let them eat. They don't make a noise anyway, though I'm really afraid for our landlady's silver spoons. Amalia Ivanovna, she addressed her suddenly, almost aloud. If her spoon should happen to be stolen, I won't be responsible, I warn you. She laughed, turning to Raskolnikov, and again nodding towards the landlady, very pleased with her attack. She didn't understand again. Look how she sits with her mouth open. An owl, a real owl, an owl in new ribbons. Here her laugh turned again to an insufferable fit of coughing that lasted 5 minutes. Drops of perspiration stood out on her forehead, and her handkerchief was stained with blood. She showed Raskolnikov the blood in silence, and as soon as she could get her breath again, whispering to him again with extreme animation and a hectic flush on her cheeks. Do you know, I gave her the most delicate instructions, so to speak, for inviting that lady and her daughter. You understand who I'm talking about? It needed the most delicacy, the greatest nicety, but she has managed things so that that fool, that conceited baggage, that provincial non-entity, simply because she's the widow of a major and has come to try and get a pension and fray out of her skirts in the government offices, because at 50 she paints her face. Everybody knows it. A creature like that did not think fit to come, and has not even answered the invitation, which the most ordinary good manners required. I can't understand why Peter Petrovich has not come, but where's Sonia? Where has she gone? Ah, there she is at last. What is it, Sonia? Where have you been? It's odd that even at your father's funeral you should be so unpunctual. Rodion Romanovich, make room for her beside you. That's your place, Sonia. Take what you like. Have some of the cold entree with the jelly. That's the best. They'll bring the pancakes in a few minutes. Have they given the children some? Polenka, have you got everything? It's all right. That's all right. Be a good girl, Lida, and Kolya. Don't fit it with your feet. Sit like a little gentleman. What are you saying, Sonia? Sonia hurriedly gave her Peter Petrovich's apologies, trying to speak loud enough for everyone to hear and carefully choosing the most respectful phrases which she attributed to Peter Petrovich. She added that Peter Petrovich had particularly told her to say that as soon as he possibly could, he would come immediately to discuss business alone with her and to consider what could be done for her, etc., etc. Sonia knew that this would comfort Katerina Ivanovna, flatter her, and satisfy her pride. She sat beside Raskolnikov. She made him a hurried bow, glancing curiously at him, but for the rest of the time she seemed to avoid looking at him or speaking to him. She seemed absent-minded, though she kept looking at Katerina Ivanovna, trying to please her. Neither she nor Katerina Ivanovna had been able to get morning clothes. Sonia was wearing dark brown, and Katerina Ivanovna was in her only dress, a dark striped cotton one. Hello there, Hungvu! How are you doing? Let's continue the book. By the way, once we finish the book, we're going to look at the Valentina and Lucio trailer, because I haven't looked at that. I meant to watch this at the beginning of the stream, and I completely forgot. My bad. Anyway, let's just finish the chapter, and we're going to watch it together, because I completely forgot. The message from Peter Petrovich was very successful. Listening to Sonia with dignity, Katerina Ivanovna inquired with equal dignity how Peter Petrovich was. Then at once whispered almost aloud to Raskolnikov that it certainly would have been strange for a man of Peter Petrovich's position and standing to find himself in such extraordinary company, in spite of his devotion to her family and his old friendship with her father. That's why I'm so grateful to you, Rodion Romanovich, that you had not disdained my hospitality even in such surroundings. She added almost aloud, but I am sure that it was only your special affection for my poor husband that has made you keep your promise. Then, once more, with pride and dignity, she scanned her visitors and suddenly inquired aloud across the table of the deaf man. Wouldn't he have some more meat, and had he been given some wine? The old man did not answer, and for a long time could not understand what he was at, though his neighbors amused themselves by poking and shaking. He simply gazed about him with his mouth open, which only increased the general amusement. What an imbecile! Look, look! Why was he brought? But as for Peter Petrovich, I always had confidence in him, Katerina Ivanovna continued. And of course, he's not like... With an extremely stern face, she addressed Amalia Ivanovna so sharply and loudly that the latter was entirely disconcerted. Not like your dressed-up floozies my father would not have taken as cooks into his kitchen. My late husband would have done them the honor of taking them in if he had invited them in the goodness of his heart. Yes, he was fond of drink. He was fond of it. He did drink. shouted the commissariat clerk, gulping down his 12th glass of vodka. Holy shit! My late husband certainly had that weakness, and everyone knows it. Katerina Ivanovna attacked him at once. But he was a kind and honorable man who loved and respected his family. The worst of it was that his good nature made him trust all sorts of disreputable people, and he drank with people who were not worth the sole of his shoe. Would you believe it, Rodion Romanovich? They found a gingerbread cocktail in his pocket. He was dead drunk, but he did not forget the children. A cocktail? Did you say a cocktail? Shouted the commissariat clerk. Katerina Ivanovna did not vouchsafe a reply. She sighed, almost lost in thought. No doubt you think, like everyone, that I was too severe with him, she went on, addressing Raskolnikov. But that's not true. He respected me. He respected me very much. He was a kind-hearted man. And how sorry I was for him sometimes. He would sit in a corner and look at me. I used to feel sorry for him. I used to want to be kind to him, and then I would think to myself, be kind to him, and he would drink again. It was only through severity that you could keep him within bounds. Yes, he used to get his hair pulled pretty often, roared the commissariat clerk again, swallowing another glass of vodka. Some fools would be better for a real beating, as well as having their hair pulled. I'm not talking about my late husband now, Katerina Ivanovna snapped at him. The flush on her cheeks grew more and more marked. Her chest heaved. In another minute, she would have been ready to make a scene. Many of the visitors were snickering, evidently delighted. They began poking the commissariat clerk and whispering something to him. They were evidently trying to egg him on. Allow me to ask what you're referring to, began the clerk. That is to say, about whom did you say just now? But I don't care. That's nonsense, widow. I forgive you. Pass. And he took another drink of vodka. Raskolnikov sat in silence, listening with disgust. He only ate out of politeness, just tasting the food that Katerina Ivanovna was continually putting on his plate, to avoid hurting her feelings. He watched Sonia intently, but Sonia became more and more anxious and distressed. She too foresaw that the dinner would not end peaceably, and saw with terror Katerina Ivanovna's growing irritation. She knew that she, Sonia, was the chief reason for the genteel ladies' contemptuous treatment of Katerina Ivanovna's invitation. She had heard from Amalia Ivanovna that the mother was positively offended at the invitation and had asked the question, how could she let her daughter sit down beside that young person? Sonia had a feeling that Katerina Ivanovna had already heard this, and an insult to Sonia meant more to Katerina Ivanovna than an insult to herself, her children, or her father. Sonia knew that Katerina Ivanovna would not be satisfied now, till she had shown those floozies that they were both. To make matters worse, someone passed Sonia, from the other end of the table, a plate with 2 hearts pierced with an arrow, cut out of black bread. Katerina Ivanovna flushed crimson, and at once said aloud across the table that the man who sent it was a drunken ass. Amalia Ivanovna was foreseeing that something would go wrong, and at the same time she was deeply wounded by Katerina Ivanovna's dismissiveness, so to restore the good mood at the party and raise herself in their esteem, she began, entirely at random, to tell a story about an acquaintance of her, Karl from the chemist, who was driving one night in a cab, and that the cabman wanted him to kill, and Karl very much begged him not to kill, and wept and clasped hands, and frightened, and from fear pierced his heart. Though Katerina Ivanovna smiled, she observed at once that Amalia Ivanovna ought not to tell anecdotes in Russian. The latter was even more offended, and she retorted that her Vater aus Berlin was a very important man, and always went with his hands in pockets. Katerina Ivanovna could not restrain herself and laughed so much that Amalia Ivanovna lost patience, and could scarcely control herself. Listen to the owl, Katerina Ivanovna whispered at once, her good humor almost restored. She meant to say he kept his hands in his pocket, but she said he puts his hand in people's pockets. Have you noticed, Rodion Romanovich, that all these Petersburg foreigners, the Germans especially, are all stupider than we are? Can you fancy anyone's telling how Karl from the chemist pierced his heart from fear, and that the idiot, instead of punishing the cabman, clasped his hands and wept and much begged? Ah, the fool! And you know, she thinks it's very touching and does not suspect how stupid she is. The way I see it, the drunken commissariat clerk is a great deal cleverer. Anyway, one can see that he was addled his brains with drink, but you know, these foreigners are always so well behaved and serious. Look how she sits glaring. She's angry. Regaining her temper, Katerina Ivanovna began to tell Raskolnikov that when she had obtained her pension, she intended to open a school for gentlemen's daughters in her native town, T. This was the first time she had spoken to him about the project, and she launched out into the most alluring details. It suddenly appeared that Katerina Ivanovna had in her hands the same certificate of honor which Marmeladov had told Raskolnikov about in the tavern, when he told him that Katerina Ivanovna, his wife, had danced the shawl dance before the governor and other important people when she left school. This certificate of honor was obviously intended now to prove Katerina Ivanovna's right to open a boarding school, but she had armed herself with it chiefly with the purpose of overwhelming those two stuck-up floozies if they came to the dinner, and proving incontestably that Katerina Ivanovna was of the most noble, she might even say aristocratic family, a colonel's daughter, and was far superior to certain adventuresses who had been so much to the fore recently. The certificate of honor immediately passed into the hands of the drunken guest, and Katerina Ivanovna did not try to retain it, for it actually contained the statement in 2 letters, I don't know what that means, that her father was a major and also a companion of an order, so that she really was almost the daughter of a colonel. Warming up, Katerina Ivanovna proceeded to enlarge on the peaceful and happy life they would lead in T, on the gymnasium teachers whom she would engage to give lessons in her boarding school. One, a highly respectable old Frenchman called Mangot, who had taught Katerina Ivanovna herself in the old days and was still living in T, and would no doubt teaching her school on moderate terms. Next, she spoke of Sonia, who would go with her to T and help her in all her plans. At this, someone at the further end of the table suddenly chuckled. Though Katerina Ivanovna tried to appear to be disdainfully unaware of it, she raised her voice and began at once speaking with conviction of Sonia's undoubted ability to assist her, of her gentleness, patience, devotion, generosity, and good education, tapping Sonia on the cheek and kissing her warmly twice. Sonia flushed crimson, and Katerina Ivanovna suddenly burst into tears, immediately observing that she was nervous and silly, that she was too upset, that it was time to finish, and as the dinner was over, it was time to hand round the tea. At that moment, Amalia Ivanovna, deeply aggrieved that she had played no part in the conversation and that no one was listening to her, made one last effort, and with secret misgivings, ventured on an extremely deep and weighty observation, that, in the future boarding school, she would have to pay particular attention to dye wash, and that there certainly must be a good dame to look after the linen, and secondly, that the young ladies must not novels at night read. Katerina Ivanovna, who was certainly upset and very tired, as well as heartily sick of the dinner, at once cut short Amalia Ivanovna, saying she knew nothing about it and was talking nonsense, that it was the business of the laundry-maid and not of the directress of a high-class boarding school to look after dye wash, and as for novel reading, that was simply rude, and she begged her to be silent. Amalia Ivanovna was enraged, and observed that she only meant her good, and that she had meant her every good, and that it was a long since she had paid her gold for the lodgings. Katerina Ivanovna at once put her down, saying that it was a lie to say she wished her good, because only yesterday, when her dead husband was lying on the table, she had bothered her about the lodgings. To this, Amalia Ivanovna very appropriately retorted that she had invited those ladies, but those ladies had not come, because those ladies are ladies, and cannot come to a lady who is not a lady. Katerina Ivanovna at once pointed out to her that as she was a slut, she could not judge what made one really a lady. Amalia Ivanovna at once declared that her Vater aus Berlin was a very, very important man, and both hands in pockets went, and always used to say poof, poof, and she leapt up from the table to represent her father, sticking her hands in her pocket, puffing her cheeks, and uttering vague sounds resembling poof, poof, amid loud laughter from all lodgers, who deliberately encouraged Amalia Ivanovna, hoping for a fight. But this was too much for Katerina Ivanovna, and she at once declared, so all could hear, that Amalia Ivanovna probably never had a father, but was just a drunken Petersburg Finn, and had certainly once been a cook and probably something worse. Amalia Ivanovna turned red as a lobster, and squealed that perhaps Katerina Ivanovna never had a father, but she had a vater aus Berlin, and that he wore a long coat and always said poof, poof, poof. What the fuck is this? What am I reading? Katerina Ivanovna observed contemptuously that everyone knew who her family was, and that on the very certificate of honor, it was stated in print that her father was a colonel, while Amalia Ivanovna's father, if she really had one, was probably some Finnish milkman. But that probably she never had a father at all, since it was still uncertain whether her name was Amalia Ivanovna or Amalia Ludwigovna. At this, Amalia Ivanovna lashed to fury, struck the table with her fist, and shrieked that she was Amalia Ivanovna, not Ludwigovna, that her vater was Johann, and that he was a burgomeister, and that Katerina Ivanovna's father was quite never a burgomeister. Katerina Ivanovna rose from her chair, and with a stern and apparently calm voice, though she was pale and her chest was heavy, observed that if she dared for one moment to set her contemptible wretch of a father on a level with her papa, she, Katerina Ivanovna, would tear her cap off her head and trample it underfoot. Amalia Ivanovna ran about the room, shouting at the top of her voice that she was mistress of the house, and that Katerina Ivanovna should leave the lodgings that minute. Then she rushed for some reason to collect the silver spoon from the table. There was a great outcry, an uproar. The children began crying. Tonia ran to restrain Katerina Ivanovna, but when Amalia Ivanovna shouted something about the yellow ticket, Katerina Ivanovna pushed Sonia away and rushed at the landlady to carry out her threat. At that minute, the door opened, and Peter Petrovich Luzin appeared on the threshold. He stood scanning the party with severe and vigilant eyes. Katerina Ivanovna rushed towards him. Oh man, here we go. We ended our reading for today. We're going for chapter 3, and we got, well, this part isn't very interesting. We just got a fight between two ladies. Honestly, this is kind of ass, I'll be entirely honest. Ooh, don't look at that. We are gonna now look at the trailer because I haven't watched it yet, and I want to watch it, and I forgot about watching it. We're gonna watch it real quick. Let me just go to my subscription. Sorry if this is at the tail end of the stream, because I completely forgot about it. I'll be entirely honest. I haven't watched it, so we're going to watch it this time together. Let me put it on full big boy screen here so we can all watch together. And let me mute Limbus Company so that I can actually make this work. It's always such fidangling to get this thing to work. But yeah, this chapter isn't that interesting. It's just two ladies fighting. Here we go. Boop. Good enough. There's a little bar at the bottom there that's not fitting. I don't know why. I see. I removed it because there we go. I have not watched this, so this is my fresh reaction for this. Is my desktop audio. Here we go. And action.
컴퍼니.
흉내일 뿐이라고 해도 상관없어. 애초에 강해지고 싶어서 팔레르무로 단련하고 있는 것도 아니니까. 스승님이 지지라면 짓고 물라면 물 수 있는 사냥개. 그거면 된 거야. 시킨 대로 해낼 수 있으면 그만이라고. 내가 말했잖아. 다른 검술로는 결투에서 팔레르무의 가속을 따라올 수 없을 거라고. 같은 자세를 1000번, 안 되면 10,000번을 반복했어. 상대가 당신이라면 적어도 지진 않아. 도망치거나 죽이라면 지금이 유죄죠. 팔레르무 해체 방식 아니야. 일단 습격을 막아내고 난 뒤에 지쳤을 때가 낫지 않나? 그래. 일단 지금은 스승님을 도와서 나를 향한 매질과 모든 조롱, 멸신에 견딜 수 있었어. 그까짓 참으면 그만이었으니까.
Very interesting. Let me go back here. Look at how fucking angry he is. This is the most angry I've seen him. Jesus Christ, cat! Don't do that! Sorry, my cat just decided to jump on somewhere she shouldn't be jumping on, and I'll solve this in a bit. But anyway, this is the angriest I've ever seen Heathcliff, man. He punched that mirror. He punched that mirror fully. Look at that scowl, the veins popping on his forehead. Holy shit. Any other little details here? So I'll comment on this. He basically saying that he thought Tom Brody and Tom Heathcliff synergy was going to be Rhoda throwing a wine bottle at Heathcliff. Yeah, it gives him it drains his sanity, but it gives him an offense level up.
애초에 강해지고 싶어서 팔레르모로 달려나고
Two angles of angry Heathcliff.
있는 것도 아니니까.
But yeah, more Heathcliff suffering. He brought out. Assuming all of these ideas, we can assume that he still had the same background. You know, he went to Wuthering Heights, got mistreated by Hindley and by everyone else, and then he, fucked off from Wuthering Heights and joined the FUM. Apparently, it was found by Valentina, and then it just goes from one shit place to another shit place. That's amazing. That's amazing shit luck for Heathcliff and his idea. I feel sorry for the guy.
시킨 대로 해낼 수 있으면 그만이라고. 내가 말했잖아. 다른 검술로는 결투에서 팔레르모의 가속을 따라올 수 없을 거라고. 같은 자세를 1000번, 안 되면 10,000번을 반복했어. 상대가 당신이라면 적어도 지진 않아. 도망치거나 죽이라면 지금이 유죄죠. 팔레르모 해체 방식.
At least in this idea, he's actually going to try and kill someone. I guess he did try to kill someone. Nothing changed. Wuthering Heights is also trying to kill everyone. He has revenge on his back and all that, so that's not changing. Alright, let's see Rodeo now. This is last no poop on him.
그까짓 거 참으면 그만이었으니까. 그럼에도 스승님을 죽여야겠다고 생각한 이유는
I think this version of Heathcliff met Rodeo before Mr. Earnshaw have a chance to meet him. No, that's not gonna happen. He has to have the background that there's Kathy and he's going to go back to Kathy. He even say at the beginning that he's not training for... There we go. Getting stronger is what I'm training my Parliamentan style for anyway. It's all Heathcliff ideas are gonna follow the same thing. He went to Wuthering Heights, he was raised in Wuthering Heights, he got abused in Wuthering Heights, he left Wuthering Heights to become a big shot, and then he eventually is going to come back to become, to show everyone that he was not trash. He's someone powerful. And this follows the same theme of the actual book, which is one of the books we're going to read eventually, Wuthering Heights, where Heathcliff, the book one, he leaves and then comes back with a mysterious amount of money, and it just gets worse from there. Like I always did, yeah. He went to Wuthering Heights.
깨달아서 그래. 그 모든 폭력이 내게서 사라질 날이 영원히 오지 않으리라는 걸.
난 이미 기다릴 만큼 기다렸어.
There she is.
이제야 좀 이 개 같은 추위에서 벗어나나 싶더니.
Jesus Christ, she looks
고작 그 새끼
miserable.
하나 때문에 티켓이 백지 쪼가리.
Wait, what? My ticket turned into a blank scrap paper all because of that mongrel brat. Is she talking about a riot?
됐다고? 지랄도 정도껏 해야지.
Oh yeah, that's the theory that she just fucked up. The theory that is running about the whole mirror world about who Ryosho is that she left because either her child died or someone killed her child. She came back for revenge, and then they captured her and turned her into, Blade of the House of Spiders again, and hardcore abuse.
지금 얘가 뭘 잊었는지.
There we go, she's talking about Ryan. There's the Eye of Odin for the dodge.
처음 검을 준 날부터 네 놈을
For the first day, her baby hand held a sword. All the way to the day she brought you
데리고
here.
돌아온 그날까지 내가 얼마나 찌죽찌죽한 거 닦았는데 이 백망덕한 새끼가!
Oh no, it's something different then, something different. I think Araya successfully managed to kill Ryoshu and then took her place or something like that.
요시우드 그 새끼도 너도 전부 다!
Yeah, it's a little different than what I'm thinking.
빌어먹을 패밀리도 너네들도 전부!
Extended.
몰랐어? 내가 말했잖아. 난 듀엘에서도 일기초에서도
I like it.
저번 적 없다고.
All right, lots to talk about here. So I think the theory here is that either Araya took the place of Ryoshu and killed Ryoshu, and then they just, or I don't know, I'm not sure. I think Araya took the place of Ryoshu and tried to attack the House of Spiders, or killed Ryoshu, and then they tossed her into the Time Vault again, and to try and force to make the blade of the House of Spiders to make the, you know, the Lethal Slash Supreme. Very good. I can't wait to get my hands in it. And once I get my hands into Valentina and Lucio, we're going to make an extreme hero run with House of Spiders. So Ryoshu can eat her way to the top. She's going to become big and round, full of nurse fodder. Yum, yum, yum. In any case, that was it for today, friends. We played some Mirror Dungeon. We did some ID analysis real quick, because we already used these IDs before. And we did some book reading as well as watching a video. That is it for today. Maybe some more Abiotic Factor is later in the day. I don't know. My friends want to play or not. But for now, for today, that is it. Tomorrow in the afternoon, we are going to have some Project Moon tabletop roleplay game, which I am the GM for. It is going to be streamed, but because it's a tabletop stream, I won't be able to, you know, reply to you in voice. I'm going to reply in text, of course, but not in voice. Well, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for being here. If you liked the stream, please recommend it to your friends. But if you didn't, well, recommend it to your enemies. Thank you all so much again. Sweet kisses and goodbye. Oh, yes, and please, to support the channel, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Follow on Twitch, follow on Twitter, whatever pleases ya. Bye-bye, and good night. And have a nice weekend, too. Bye-bye. Love you all. Oh yeah, we have reached 130 subscribers too. Thank you so very much. On our way to 200.